You're safe.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for patiently waiting for the press briefing to begin. This is Jenny Rocket with ASEAN 2017's Media Affairs and Strategic Communications team. We are pleased to have you join us today for our press briefing with two speakers, Mr. Joey Concepcion, the chairman of the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, or ASEAN BAC, and Ms. Josephine Romero, the program chair of the ASEAN Business Investment Summit 2017. Both speakers will speak about the upcoming ASEAN Business and Investment Summit 2017 on November 12 to 14. Mr. Joey Concepcion III is appointed as Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship by Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte to help in SME development. He is also the founder of the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship, Go Negosyo, which aims to alleviate poverty by empowering entrepreneurs and eventually transform the Philippines into an enterprising nation. Ms. Josephine Romero has over 20 years of experience in both private and public sectors. Currently CEO of a fintech startup in Southeast Asia, she is back to entrepreneurship after a decade in corporate and diplomatic service. She also sits on the boards of several organizations in Asia and in North America. Without further ado, please allow me to welcome both our speakers, Mr. Joey Concepcion and Ms. Josephine Romero. Please come up to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for inviting us. We're basically from the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, and today we start the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit called ABIS at 2 o'clock in the Soler Ballroom. We expect close to 1,500 people to attend today's event. This is the kickoff of ABIS, which the President, Rodrigo Duterte, will be joining us towards 5:30 to launch AMEN, which is the ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network. This is a Philippine deliverable that we are committing, the first and the largest mentorship organization that will be formed at the ASEAN level, where 10 countries have committed to participate by allowing and supporting their mentors to be part of this program. I will ask Josephine to explain the AMEN platform later on. We also have Aung San Suu Kyi, who will be with us at about 3:30, right? 3:30 today. She, of course, is an inspiration to many, and I believe that she will really draw a lot of attention on her, how she really, in her own way, brought about democracy. And hopefully we will get a surprise guest, because we were persuading President Widodo to join President Duterte in launching AMEN towards the late afternoon. On Monday, we expect a full day of 3 state leaders to join us. We basically have on Monday Russian leader Medvedev, who will be participating actually in the Build forum coming from the inauguration of ASEAN. He will give his own speech, but then he will join the forum. This forum will be composed of Tony Fernandez, Jaime Augusto Zobel, Ricky Razon. You've got Thomas Hardy from the U.S. and you've got JICA and ADB. And towards the afternoon, we have also His Excellency Moon Jae-in of Korea, and he will be with us from 2 o'clock to 2:30. And thereafter, we will have a panel on women and economic power and human capital development. And you'll have a couple of women leaders and entrepreneurs. And towards the afternoon, late afternoon, we have the Indian Prime Minister Modi, who will speak on money, basically. So, and then Tuesday, we have the same conference, which will begin with President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and the closing will be done by Vice President Leni Robredo. And in between, we will have a series of forums. Let me ask Josephine here to give you the details of that program.
Thank you. I'm Josephine Romero with the ABIS programs. Let me give you some highlights, what to expect from this ABIS 2017 edition. Joey had already explained who the leaders are who will be there, but what would be important are the following. Number one is the launch of the flagship program of this chairmanship, which is AMEN, ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network. That's today. And we have made it special so that on stage today, at different points of the afternoon, will be the mentees. That is small and medium enterprises from ASEAN who are finalists in the ASEAN Impact Challenge are at this moment, as we speak, doing their final pitch and judging at the boardroom, a corporate boardroom somewhere in Metro Manila. This afternoon, the winners will be recognized, and our AMEN mentors, pioneer mentors, are looking over their resume to offer their mentorship. Also this afternoon, as part of the launch, is a chat with the pioneer mentors from the 10 countries of ASEAN. We have chosen very distinctive mentors from Singapore, Malaysia, all the 10 countries, to talk about what AMEN is and why mentorship is an advocacy that has been taken up by the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. So those would really be the highlights for the day, aside from the leaders who will be gracing the occasion. Now, what is AMEN? Just to give you a very, very short description what AMEN is. It is a program that has uplifted, that has leveled up the individual country programs of mentorship, where sharing of knowledge and sharing of mentors themselves, the personalities who are doing this mentorship, will be done in a more systematic way. As we speak, meetings are already ongoing. The steering committee for AMEN is right now at the City of Dreams discussing organizational requirements and structure for a moving forward program for AMEN. Now, another deliverable of this ABIS for the next few days would be the 5 different forums that will be the focus of 30 different private CEOs, think tanks, and government officials. So the most popular forum is the first one on Monday that's tomorrow, called the Infrastructure Development Build, Build, Build. In fact, everybody wants to be part of this panel. It already has 6 panelists and will be moderated by Maria Ressa. And as Joey mentioned, even the Prime Minister of Russia is going to be part of that panel. Another forum will be in the afternoon. It's Unleashing Women Economic Power and focusing on women, on human capital development. So we have an array of speakers from large enterprises and small ones. So for large enterprises, we have Ms. Tessie C. Coson, and as well as the president of Hyundai Philippines, Ms. Fe Agudo. And we have UNESCAP, Director General, also speaking in that panel to put the think tank perspective and the issues about women to the fore during that discussion. The third forum for that day would be money and markets. This should be very interesting because in a discussion, a newsroom type discussion, money and market concerns of enterprises, whether large or small, are going to be discussed. Our moderator is a very popular moderator, or should I say distinctive moderator, Dato Timothy Ong of Brunei. He is the founder of the Asia CEO Forum. And we envision this as a newsroom type discussion where he will be asking questions of the different executives. Now this frames the arrival of and the speech of Prime Minister Modi. As we all know, India is a very innovative and technology-savvy country. That, in fact, was initially the topic that they wanted to discuss for the Prime Minister's vision for achieving shared prosperity. However, in the end, with negotiations with them, we were able to convince them that the big strides in policy changes to bring in as many of the unbanked and those who are not in the system, banking system, to their economic system is something that many countries, including ASEAN countries, would like to emulate. So that will be the focus of the discussion or the message of Prime Minister Modi, right? So let's go to the following day, the last day of ABIS, November 14, Tuesday. The first address will be former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. As a statesperson, a legislator, and an economist, we have asked her to give us retrospectives and perspectives about ASEAN 100. We thought this a timely topic because this year we celebrate ASEAN 50. So the next question is, what will ASEAN look like 50 years from now? And immediately after she speaks, the ASEAN-BAC chairpersons from the 10 member nations will give their reactions in a panel called the ABAC Chairpersons Roundtable, moderated by Dr. Ciel Habito. Significant to share with you today is that the ABAC chairpersons are having an interface meeting with the ASEAN leaders tomorrow, Monday, where they will be delivering their report to the ASEAN leaders. So on Tuesday, during that round table, they will be sharing parts of that report to the audience of about 1,200. And this is to signify or to share with you the importance of their advocacy in pushing business and being a partner to government. And then two very new topics for ABAC and will usher in the chairmanship of Singapore next year as for ASEAN 51 are forums on shared economy, where our only private sector speaker is from Airbnb, the country director or the country head of Airbnb in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific, Robin Kwok. And then following that will be the last forum for the day, entrepreneurship in the digital economy. So you see the second day, the third day of ABIS is focused on the transformation of the brick and mortar enterprise into the new digital world of doing business. We at ABAC also recognize that business can only move on and accelerate if the transformation to the digital age is recognized and supported. We end the summit at 3:30 on Tuesday with the keynote message from Philippine Vice President Leni Robredo. And she will also witness the closing of ABIS with a special and very touching presentation. So that's it in a nutshell, what to expect at ABIS, the program itself. Now, may I share with you that there's still more happening, not just in the program. We have partner events like the ASEAN-Japan Fair, featuring 20 SMEs, 10 from Japan and 10 from all over ASEAN, will be a mini exhibit co-located at Soler beside ABIS. This was organized as a commitment, as a fulfillment of the commitment between the Department of Trade and Industry and the Japan Ministry of Economic and Trade International. So that's open to everybody, even those who are not ABIS participants. We also have the ASEAN Investment Report, a report of the past decade's foreign direct investments in ASEAN that is going to be launched by the ASEAN Secretariat. And then finally, we have a launch of a book by our Malaysian ABAC, ASEAN Business Advisory Council, on the digital age in ASEAN. So, you know, in a nutshell, that's it. Thank you.
We are now opening the floor to questions. Just a reminder on the House rules to please state your name and affiliation and limit your questions to 2 questions per reporter. So first question, please come to the mics on your left or right or in the middle. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aricel Saludo from Fuji TV. I just wanted to ask, since Aung San Suu Kyi will be your guest of honor, or is she delivering a speech? What topic will she be saying?
I guess it's a surprise because we were not told what the topic will she talk about.
But she's definitely going to make a speech.
Oh, definitely, definitely. She'll be there for about 30 minutes.
Will she be entertaining questions?
Yeah. So basically the theme of this event is really creating prosperity for all. No? That has been our theme for the entire year. And each leader has their own roadmap on how they are able to create that platform for bringing about better prosperity, and especially in countries that are not doing as well as the developed countries. How do they intend to really level up, no? And reduce the level of poverty? So we expect each leader to share their strengths. No?
Right. Will she be entertaining questions from the audience?
That is our desire. We are going to request. So far, the Russian group has been very accommodating by really wanting to participate, in fact, in a forum and engaging in questions. So, and I think that is unique, and we definitely are told them this is going to really be a good sharing with the ASEAN members. No? So we're trying to encourage Myanmar to do the same, and hopefully Aung San Suu Kyi would agree to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, good morning. This is Tommy with Sputnik News in Moscow, Russia. I guess my question is regarding to the Russian Prime Minister's visit tomorrow morning. You said he's going to join the forum on infrastructure development, but I guess the general question is more of like, in what business sectors do you see Russia with Asian nations have more opportunities to work with each other? And also that, given, Russia is facing a lot of economic sanctions from Western nations, including the US and Europe, do you see like there's more chances for Asian nations to work with Russia? Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for the question. When we were discussing this with the Russian delegation, some of the themes that they mentioned could be part of the Prime Minister's message include connectivity through infrastructure development, such as transportation and communications. We know that they have one of the most sophisticated train system in the entire world, and that is something that they are actively pursuing with government, the Philippine government right now. So we expect that that would be one of the themes of the Prime Minister's speech. They also mentioned about their advanced technologies. In ASEAN, at various levels, the different member nations are also exploring space technology, something that the Russians are very proud to say that they are quite advanced relative to their to the countries of their of the same inclination. Again, that is one of the themes that they mentioned they might be talking about. And finally, they mentioned that they would like to strengthen relations with the ASEAN member nations. So we expect that the Prime Minister will lay down some of their strategic directions in pursuing this.
Just a little follow-up on the train system. Are you talking about high-speed train or subway, or is there anything specific?
We are actually not privy to the negotiations between Philippine government and Russia on that because we are private sector, and this is a government discussion. But they did say that the train system is something that they are discussing.
Thank you. Next question, please.
My name is Dong from Xinhua News Agency of China. My question is for Mr. Concepcion. And we know there will be a ASEAN-China summit tomorrow, and China and ASEAN has developing their relationships for 2 decades. And they started their FTA in 2010. So can you give us your ideas on the ASEAN-China relationships in terms of their economic cooperation, trade, investment for the past years? Thank you.
I think as we are focusing on helping our micro and small entrepreneurs, China's program on infrastructure development with the One Belt, One Road is creating greater connectivity, making all the nations be able to reach out in terms of transporting people and goods. And I think there is where we can follow China's strategy. The Philippines has 7,100 islands. And when we talk about mentorship, it's really the 3 M's that we need to help our micro and small entrepreneurs. The mentorship program, which we are doing through Amen, and the money side, which is important to fund these entrepreneurs, and the market side. And by creating connectivity, whether in the brick and mortar, through the bridges, the roads, and the airports, and all of that, you have also the digital connectivity. So China's massive project on really putting this infrastructure to connect all these countries together actually enhances the chances for many of our SMEs in the ASEAN region to benefit from it. People ask me, is ASEAN a threat to our small entrepreneurs? It is not, because the way I look at it, as countries like China take the lead in creating this infrastructure and improving connectivity, it presents opportunities for many of our smaller entrepreneurs to be able to access these markets. So that is a roadmap that I believe China is headed in the right direction. That is a roadmap that the Philippine government is moving aggressively, and with our plans to Philippine government here to work with China in the railway system, which is just one of the many projects this Philippine government has. Again, it benefits many of our micro and small entrepreneurs.
Okay, next question.
I think you just mentioned the Belt and the Road Initiative, and the ASEAN also have a blueprint for connectivity, I think. Do you think it's possible that they combine their strategies?
I'm not aware about the ASEAN initiative. We have the RORO, which was launched early this year, and definitely this will definitely complement what China is doing. The whole aspect really is to really align the ASEAN strategy in improving connectivity, and with the discussions with ASEAN and China, that is where the common directions can be implemented, the realignment of discussions on how we can enhance the connectivity that will benefit more people. Again, we're trying to look here at inclusivity in our growth. This is really the problem that I see in ASEAN area. How do we make the micro and small entrepreneurs move up the value chain? It's a challenge. And you can see that the wealth is controlled by a few people. Large corporations still continue to dominate that sector. In the Philippines, for example, 99.6% of the entire business community is micro and small entrepreneurs. So how do we solve our drug problems and all these insurgencies? You have to give these people a chance to have a better outlook in life, improve their standard of living. And I believe that connectivity is key in achieving that.
Next question. Please state your name and affiliation.
Hi, I'm Roy from The Inquirer. I would just like to ask a few more, if you could expound more on AMEN, specifically on the specific steps that the group would be taking. How would MSMEs here in the Philippines be able to join that program, and when can we expect the first session of this mentorship to begin? Thank you.
The AMEN program basically is going to start where these mentors will be mentoring the mentors first. Many of the AMEN mentors, the pioneer mentors from the different countries will be coming to the Philippines to strengthen our own mentors. And that is very important because we have also to scale up our current mentors in the Philippines. So coming from about a year of experience in working with the Department of Trade and Industry and Agriculture, there is need for definitely strengthen the level of our mentors. No? So that is the first step. Now, as we move on, eventually we will expose our mentees, and I'm sure depending on the needs of this country, whether it's in our case, whether it's digital or agriculture, depending on what Singapore would need, what Myanmar would need, they will define where their weak areas are, and that's where they will prepare their own strategy. In the Philippines, as I said, we are already implementing this program. So it is very easy for us to fast-track the development of the next step. And we are still building what I call that directory of these mentors. We are starting with 143 pioneer mentors that will be part of the launch today. But it will not be only at 143. Just to give an idea, over 500 mentors are already engaged in the Philippines. Okay, 500 plus mentors and growing. So we envision this to be at least 1,000 mentors, and eventually we will not just make this exclusive to the 10 ASEAN countries. The joint business councils can also engage and share with us their mentors. No? So that will be the next step. Eventually, the mentorship will be developed into an academy, in a digital platform. So these are various undertakings that will be done over time.
Next question.
If I may add, to that. I mentioned earlier that as we speak, the steering committee for this AMEN program is meeting at the City of Dreams. We hope that by the end of the day, they will have some plan of action to develop the organization that will pursue the AMEN program beyond the launch, which is today. They are also drawing up the measurable and very specific action items so that each member nation will have a significant contribution to the AMEN program. My suggestion is for those who are attending the AMEN launch this afternoon, the pioneer mentors who will be on stage will be the primary speakers for their respective countries. But in the room will be the different pioneer mentors as well. Now, in the steering committee meeting today, it is actually a public-private conversation. Besides the private sector pioneer mentors, we have the ASEAN committee on promoting the micro and small enterprise policies. So that's ACSME. Right now, of course, chaired by the Philippines, Director Jerry Clavesillas of the Department of Trade and Industry. So with the resources and the strategic directions already laid down by ACSME, combined with the energy and enthusiasm, plus the quick reactions of private sector through AMEN, we expect that this program will have a life of its own. And next year, we will be able to give you more of the statistics and measurable items that you are looking for. Thank you.
AMEN does not end with the end of our chairmanship. Since I was the proponent of AMEN, we will see to it in the next years, we will continue to take that lead. Because each country will have their own deliverable and they will take their own lead. So we will see to it that this program will really move beyond what people expect it to be. And coming from the experience that we've had, we are far ahead already into it. We will learn from definitely Singapore on the digital space. So definitely the mentorship at the digital platform will be an important part of this program of AMEN.
Okay, last few questions. Are there any last few questions before I close the press briefing? Okay.
Sir Bernie of Manila Bulletin, since you mentioned about the launch of the book on ASEAN FDIs, and could you tell us something about what's your take on the ASEAN FDIs, considering that the 10 ASEAN countries are not receiving enough share of the foreign investments going into the region like the Philippines. Could you share to us what's your idea on how we can improve, the distribution of FDIs going into the region? And if you have also some figures on how much we are projecting and how much are we having at this point in time? Thank you.
Well, each country has to compete, for their very own existence. FDIs basically flow to the country that where investors see that they can make money, plain and simple. If they don't believe you can make money in the Philippines, then why will they invest in the Philippines? So and this is where the public-private partnership has to really be strengthened, and we've done that in Manila. I mean, we're doing that with Secretary Mon Lopez. My role at the private sector is to bring in the private sector as a solid partner of government. When you don't have that teamwork, then you will have a problem. And people have been saying that FDIs in the Philippines are going up and down. It's like a company growing, and nothing is a straight line going up. So enhancing the country's level of competitiveness, creating a environment that leads to really opportunities, giving opportunities to these businessmen. If they see that they can make money in that country, they will continue to invest. That means managing the labor conditions. that are fair, and competitive, because we realize that you have to compete with the ASEAN countries. While we are trying to form this brotherhood of 10 countries, definitely competition continues to exist. And if there's no competition, then everybody will just fall apart. Competition brings up the best in each one of us. And I always espouse for that. So our biggest challenge is how do we make the rest of the businessmen part of this growing economy? It cannot just be the large corporations growing and the small guys staying where they are. And you are not able to achieve an equality. Prosperity for all will definitely be severely challenged. And the programs that we are putting forward is giving a chance to everyone to be able to have a better chance to become a successful entrepreneur. So we want to bring, in the Philippines, for example, our micro and small entrepreneurs fall under the category of survival entrepreneurs. Our clear objective is just to make them sustainable entrepreneurs. And we will do that to a framework of mentorship, money, and market. Those 3 M's. And we're sharing that with the rest of the ASEAN countries as our own formula and a pathway of creating greater prosperity. And all of the 9 other countries totally agree with that format. And some will adopt it to where it fits them best. So Singapore is going to move towards the digital economy next year, and that is going to be more or less their theme. Of course, they're not sharing it with us. It's going to be a surprise. And I think that is something that we will all benefit from as we move gradually from the brick and mortar space to the digital space. I mean, it's happening faster in other countries. It's happening pretty quick in our own country. So I think this is a game changer for a lot of our micro and small entrepreneurs. So again, to answer that question, yes, we compete for these investors to come to the Philippines. We have to sell the Philippines. Our president has to sell the Philippines. I have to sell the Philippines. And with a partnership with government, private and public sector, we both have to sell the Philippines. And each other country will also be doing, they will be selling their own country. So competition still exists within the 10 ASEAN countries.
On the numbers, the report will be launched tomorrow between 11 and 11:45 a.m. We do have the numbers available, but it's still embargoed as of now. But if you like, we can send you those numbers tomorrow, maybe right before the report is launched, just so we would not preempt the ASEAN Secretariat, because we wouldn't want to give numbers that they will be presenting to the body. All right. Of those who would be interested in that, please just let me know.
Okay, last 1 to 2 questions.
I'm Ralph with the Voice of America. I have a question about the details of your program. You've mentioned money. Can you tell us how much will be spent over the next 3, 5, 10 years, and who will be paying that money, especially from outside the ASEAN region? And then also, how many people will benefit from this? How many companies might actually see some returns? Thanks.
All right. The focus of the money discussion tomorrow is really to provide avenues of making money accessible to small enterprises. And this accessibility of money is in terms of capital, and also discussing how savings can be part of the lifestyle and the culture of people. We expect that some of the speakers there will also talk about the stock money that will be going around ASEAN and its partners. We are not yet free to discuss that because they did share with us their presentations, but we'd rather not preempt them, just like I mentioned for the FDIs. Now, what we want to focus on are the 3 M's of Joey and that he mentioned earlier. What we would like to influence really is how government and private sector can work together to influence policy to make it easy for money to flow. So rather than talk about the stock money that will be going around.
So let me add to that. As I said, mentorship is important, but without the money side to fund the entrepreneur, it becomes challenge. So here in the Philippines, to give you an example, we have basically our rural banks, our MFIs, and the informal lending system that is really supporting our micro and small entrepreneurs. How do we get our larger banks to lend to these entrepreneurs because of their structure? So what's happening is many of them are buying rural banks. But moving to the digital space, this is where fintech is. Both of the largest telecom players, Globe and Smart, are engaging right now with different providers in the money side to be able to help many of our micro and small entrepreneurs access borrowing and lending, basically, in a payment system. Recently, Jack Ma visited us, and we engaged him on how he can support the money side. And Alipay is tied up today with Globe, basically, and PayPal is tied up now with Smart. So in the area of fintech, which is going to be a platform, remember we have 7,100 islands. It's really challenging to put banks in all of these areas. So we will have to use a mobile phone to be able to help people access money for their business, especially the micro and small entrepreneurs. So that is a discussion, learning from what India is doing, their own program on how they help their micro and small. We have our program here called the conditional cash transfer, which we issue checks to the poorest of the poor for no work. In other words, it's a dole out. Is that the right pathway, or is it a different pathway? So this is really alignment between private and public sector on what are the right pathways that can enhance the money flow to those who deserve it. No?
Okay, last question. Well, if there are no more questions, that ends today's press briefing. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you to all of you for being here today.